Hey everybody, awesome. We got the amazing Dr. Jessica on this morning for our AMPED Unplugged interview. I'm super excited about this because I've known Jessica for years and I know that she just walks in a spirit of excellence, not only in her technique but also in her practice and her life, and we have a lot to learn from her, just in the sense of that she's up to big things. She's a female solo DC, and also Dr. Jessica has a lot to teach myself, because I've learned a lot from her and just everything that she's doing. Dr. Jessica is out of South Carolina, and she currently has one of the world's largest Pierce practices. So if you may not be familiar with Pierce, if you're listening today, but Pierce is a very specific scientific chiropractic technique. I'll let her explain about that a little more. Dr. Jessica, excited to have you on today, and just tell us a little about what you're up to in your practice.
Thanks, Dr. Jeremy. So the Pierce that we use in our office has a variety of different types of technologies that we utilize, from motion X-ray to thermography, to drop tables, instrument adjusting, and hand adjusting. There's a lot of little pieces to it, and so that's a little bit about what we utilize in our office. I'm really excited to be here today because there is just so much momentum in our office right now. We're growing leaps and bounds. In 2015, we've already broke so many goals in all different realms, and we just had some major victories, so I'm excited to share a little bit about that, and also sharing some stuff that we have planned ahead.
Awesome, I'm excited about it too. So I know that you are, financially the practice is doing amazing, and you're a Life University graduate. You graduated, was it 2012, or help me out, Jess?
Yeah, I graduated in March. So we've been open about 2 years.
Good, yeah. So 2.5 years, and I don't know. I think it's amazing. One of the world's largest Pierce practices, and I'm excited about that. And let's face it. Let's be transparent this morning. I think the amazing thing too is that you're a huge role model for females in chiropractic. And there's myself and my wife, Dr. Amanda. We're she's a female in chiropractic, but we have the spouse. So sometimes I feel like people in your situation, they say, well, you're married to a DC, so it's different. And it is different. It really is. When you have a husband and wife both DCs, it's different, because it's like the first thing that comes to my mind is, as a female, you think, okay, well, when Dr. Amanda needs to focus on the family, she's got Dr. Jeremy, or with those spouses. So in your situation, you don't have you have an amazing spouse, no doubt, but you don't have necessarily the spouse DC to always maybe hang your hat on, or when a situation comes up. So just talk about that for a minute. How you think that is something that you're really representing in chiropractic, and there's a lot of other female solo DCs, but you specifically, I know you've talked about that a lot from stage, and you're a huge role model in that area.
Thanks, Dr. Jeremy. Yeah, you're right. It was give me a challenge being a solo female doc. Being a female chiropractor can have its challenges in general. So as you mentioned, Dr. Amanda has challenges she has to put up with. For instance, she's got to put up with you all day, Dr. Jeremy. So, it just goes both ways. But in all honesty, it doesn't matter what position you're in, whether you're a spouse or a solo female doc, there are unique challenges. And, speaking specifically from a solo female doc, a little background, I am married. I don't have any children right now, but one day we will. And I do have a supportive husband. He has been in the practice part-time, full-time. He's currently just barely 4 to 5 hours a week. So I've seen all different levels of involvement from the spouse, and I can say there's different challenges with those scenarios too as well. So talking about being a challenge too as well, I think when you're solo in practice, female or male, one of the things that you have to make sure you're on guard about is your mindset. Being by yourself can be daunting. It can be a little bit of a unique obstacle in itself, because if you're not always focused on what your mind is set towards or where your mindset is going, then you can falter, waver, and then you get into this slow, gradual fade too as well.
Yeah, that's so true. One of the things I love about the AMP community, and a mastermind essentially, and one of the things we set out for was to really develop a mastermind. because there's a lot in the business world. There's a ton of entrepreneurial masterminds, different depending what profession you're in. There's masterminds or there's groups that get together and that are like-minded, are doing things in a certain way. They're being successful in the marketplace, and that's one thing. Because I felt like that was we felt, myself, Dr. Michael, the Erics, everybody involved really felt that was missing in chiropractic. So you're right. When you're solo out there, it can get lonely. I hear. I take calls or texts or we talk to people. And that's one of the biggest situations, especially the further you get from graduation. People get busy and get in their own practices and lives and lose the connection. But so that is a challenge. I love that you shared that. And we feel like we, and you're a big part of that, helping fill that need of community and, just really rallying together around chiropractic and the principles and staying focused on what matters most in our practices, and that's the people. And serving them really good chiropractic care, which I know that you do big time with the Pierce technique and everything you have going on in your practice. One of the, we always talk about, just business lesson. What do you learn business-wise? What would you tell? What's your one or top two things business-wise you've learned over the last? It's only been 2.5 years. I mean, we're just getting started this thing. But what have you learned? Do you like to share about, maybe some business aspects, those type of things?
There's I was laughing about this because you make a lot of mistakes to make successes, and one of the things, and I've mentioned this on several launch tours, and that's that giving away care. Your heart breaks for these people. You want to serve them. You want to cater to these folks, and you want to give them the hope, and have them. And actually, that's my purpose in life is giving hope where hope's been lost. And I really just, my heart would break for some of these people. And over time, I realized, gosh, I'm just not, the financials aren't there, I mean, by the end of the day, you got to pay your bills. So it took me a while, mindset-wise, to stop just simply saying, oh, it's okay, maybe we can make some sort of arrangement. I had so many, the first 6 months in practice, we had so many hardship cases. It was getting ridiculous. So, and like I said, that's why I mentioned on launch tours, because when you get out of chiropractic school, your heart's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to help everybody. We're going to make it work for everybody. And sometimes some people just aren't prepared to get started. Maybe their priorities aren't there. And so it took me a while to accept the fact that A, our care is high quality. That B, it is affordable. And see that these people do want the care. They just need to be shown how it is affordable. And when you wrap your mind around that, and that's something you got to teach to your team as well too, that once you get past that moment, it becomes a lot easier. And you got to be able to, and this is another challenge I have in practice, you got to be able to let things go. Some people just aren't prepared to get started, and you just got to accept the fact that they may not be ready. And Dr. Jeremy said this a lot when I was in his office. He said, don't worry, they always come back. And I have seen it time and time again. Maybe they didn't get started that month, but 6 months later we get that phone call and they're like, hey, I miss you guys. I really want to come back. Oh, absolutely. And you don't even miss a beat, and they're right back in the game again. So.
Yeah, I love that, and they do all come back, and the reason they come back is because we provide such excellent chiropractic care, and unfortunately the landscape in chiropractic is such, as you know, Dr. Jessica, that it's, I mean, there's a lot of practices out there that are great people, but maybe the team or the doc themselves aren't totally focused on, providing excellent care. One of our missions in our practice is to provide an exceptional chiropractic experience for our practice members, and really to raise up those people in our community that love and will beat down your door for chiropractic. We've talked about this before, of just really creating that base within your practice that literally, if you closed up, I mean, they would hunt you down. I mean, there's a percentage of the practice, there's a percentage of your practice that it is what it is. Maybe that like the iceberg effect, that part that people can see, it's that 10 or 15% that kind of come and go and that kind of thing. But there really should be that 80% of your practice. It's like they're sold out. They're coming. They're under corrective care. They're going to stay maintenance care. They're going to do this for a lifetime. And you could literally stop getting new ones in, and you would have that core that would just stay with you forever. And that's a true, referral-based maintenance care practice. I love that. So, what's new with you? I mean, what's some breakthroughs? I know it's been 2.5 years in practice, but I know the last 4 to 6 months. What's some breakthroughs you're seeing in chiropractic or in your practice that could, help everybody on the hangout this morning?
So one of the things that happened recently, it was just, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we did a huge push. We started with the dinner with the doc. We had 3 screening events, and we actually broke a record of new ones processed in a week. And not only did we break that record, our record was held through a 6-day work week. We actually did it in 4 days. So my team is stellar. And here's the great thing about my team. I didn't do one process. I didn't process one new practice member. That's how well trained my team was. So I really have to give them credit. I couldn't do it without them. And that was pretty phenomenal to witness. And they were excited because, our doctor's reports were packed. I mean, like, there wasn't any available seating. I mean, we were working on the flow. So another breakthrough we had is we really fine-tuned how we flowed from from the doctor's report to the financials to how, like, what parts are being handled at the front desk, what parts are handled in the room. And we really perfected that too as well. So we're actually now able to accommodate a larger group setting, whereas before we kind of capped it at a certain point too. So that was a huge breakthrough for our team in only the last month. So the whole team's just, and when your team gets excited about that stuff, it just creates so much like energy, and that excitement just falls over into everyday practice events. So, the team members, the practice members feel it. So overall, it's just, you can just feel that buzz in the room. And Dr. Jeremy's fine because he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So totally, I love that. I love that feeling. It's a good feeling when the machine is working and it's well oiled. Amen. Right. What about? You're excited about that, and I love that. And with AMPED, we teach that. But I just maybe for people listening, say what do you explain that. It's like you just said that you had a record breakthrough week. You processed all these new practice members. Yet you weren't really a big part of the process itself. You were leading and you were guiding from a distance, meaning down the hall. So explain that. What does that mean when your team is taking people through the process without you actually having to be part of the process? Because most people, I imagine, listening, the chiropractor is very involved in every step of the process. And there's a season for that as you're opening up a new practice. But the goal is to leverage ourselves to do what we love to do, which is adjust. And I really feel like a lot of chiropractors, they hit that brick wall where they can never get their team on board. They can never get their team on board, so they're stuck at this whatever level that may be of always, basically, having great receptionists but not having team members.
Yeah, and that's
so just explain. What does that mean when your team doing their thing?
Yeah, so actually, and that's actually another business lesson I learned is that you can't grow your team fast enough. Especially if you're using the AMP procedures and you're marketing how we discuss on the modules, you're going to grow very quickly. And if you don't have the team to support that growth, people fall through the cracks, and it just can't maintain that spirit of excellence to take on that growth. One thing that was always on my heart, again, being a solo doc and solo female doc, I really, really needed people to be able to take my practice members through the process without my involvement. It started out gradually, we trained on the small stuff, and gradually we just kept adding pieces. Now, in all honesty, the one part that I still do, though, is x-rays, because we use motion x-ray, and that's very hard to teach someone how to operate. So logistically, when I say process, I mean everything up to right before the x-rays. And my team, though, to cut down on my time, they're trained on how to set up the x-ray, get the factor set, put all the numbers on the sheet, so literally all I have to do is punch in the next one and just flow with it. And they get everybody set up. And they even explain to the practice member what motions I'm going to explain, so that I don't have to explain that myself. So we've cut out every little piece that would waste my time and just have me focus on the thing that I can only do, which is actually taking the film and the video too as well. I can't stress enough how important it is to try to train your team to do as much as you can, do as much as they can without your help, because there's only a few things that you can do in your office. Only you can adjust. In my case, I'm the only one who can do x-rays, and also as well, everything else is fair game. So if you can train your team to handle these aspects, it's just going to allow you for so much more growth. And that's how that way you want to think is, what is it that only you can do, and everything else should be given to your team at one point or another, with baby steps, with implementation,
Yeah, that's awesome. So And I love the fact that you do motion X-ray because we don't. I think it's amazing technology. Because you've told me before, there's only a certain number of chiropractors actually do motion X-ray. Is it like 50 or 100 in the world that actually do motion, or what's the stat on that?
We debate it amongst ourselves too.
What's that? What'd you say?
We debate amongst ourselves too. If you ask Dr. Cooper, he says 25. I say 50. So we're estimating somewhere between there, actually utilizing motion X-ray for spinal analysis. But there's a whole wave of numbers that are about to graduate, so that number is probably going to keep increasing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, hey, 50, 25, I don't know, that's a pretty small minority in chiropractic who do motion X-ray. I mean, it makes sense, your team, and that's a very specified stuff. But, hey, in time, potentially you could even train your team to do that. So I love that you're training your team to do your consultation, your evaluation, your assessments, that chiropractic education that we do on the first visit, the office tour, and everything, closing them out or teaching them that they need chiropractic X-rays and the motion X-ray and creating value for that, and even collecting payment. I love that. So awesome team members. I know that you have been developing, and here you are 2.5 years in, have a team that's really running after it, and you guys are doing chiropractic in a big way in right out Charlotte suburb there. So, hey, listen, what would you tell a doc? We're going to kind of wind the call down here, but some parting thoughts. What would you tell a chiropractor that's, maybe they're 2.5 years in like you, maybe they're 12.5 years in, or wherever they're at? What would you tell a chiropractor right now that's out there listening, and maybe they're super fired up about the principle and they're doing amazing, great, or maybe they're they're looking for something more?
Absolutely. One of the is when it comes to plugging in. One thing I appreciate that AMPED has created is this community of where you can constantly ask people questions, get feedback, bounce ideas off each other. Because I'll be honest, when you're, and I'm going back to being by yourself again, and let's be honest, it can be lonely where you're at. You've been in part of this chiropractic bubble for so long, and then you're out and about, and you hear all these other outside voices speaking to you, and you're like, and then slowly what ends up happening is maybe you hit a couple of bumps in the road. Okay, you hit a couple of bumps, and then you're like, you get shaken up, and then you're like, well, maybe if I just change this one thing, I don't have to worry about that bump anymore. So then you step a little to the side, and then you hit a couple more bumps, and then you step aside. And what ends up happening is you start getting the obstacles, you find out that you stop talking to people, and then you start shutting out, right? You start isolating. Maybe you're embarrassed. Maybe you're feeling a little bit like down on yourself, and you just get to this point where you actually even stop reaching out for help. So if you're going through a season where you're getting a lot of challenges, you're getting hit left and right, that's the time you should be plugging in even deeper. And then you should be picking up that phone, calling people, messaging on Facebook, whatever it might be, because literally that is what AMPED is about. AMPED is supposed to uplifting everybody and trying to keep everybody connected so we can grow as future leaders in our profession. And so I can speak from personal experience. So when I first opened, there was a period of time I got a little quiet. I stopped calling my friends. I didn't, reach out as much. And my practice was stagnant. And I don't want that for anybody that might be listening to this interview right now, because, to be honest, it doesn't need to happen. Not with what AMPED has created now. So if you're a doc and you're hitting some obstacles, and maybe you just joined AMPED and you're still hitting a few bumps along the road, just stay plugged in, stay tuned in, get on those accountability groups. Ask your leader, where can I go to find this? Maybe there's a module you need. Buy the module, study it. Don't stop pouring in, because what you pour in, you're going to get back out. And a lot of times it's just grind, and then the victory comes. And it's when you hit the obstacles, it's not how many obstacles you get hit with, it's what you do when you get hit. Do you get up or do you stay down? And it's really just that simple.
Yeah, preach it. Love it. So I love that you're also helping the Sherman Club up there. You're probably, 45, 50 minutes from Sherman College of Chiropractic, and I know that you're plugged in with the school up there, and also the AMPED student club at Sherman College. Real quick, a student watching right now, what would you, I know there's a lot of things we could tell students, but what would you say to a student right now, in 20 seconds or less?
20 seconds or less. I'd probably say you probably heard a lot of talk about mindset. You've probably heard a lot of talk about mentality and drive. And, it may seem redundant, it may seem so simple, but when you get out and practice, it really needs to happen. So you can do things while you're in school right now to protect your mindset and build that stamina to be able to launch yourself into practice. So the biggest thing is start finding out what it takes to have a constantly positive mindset, what it takes to stay focused. Find out what your strengths are, your weaknesses are, anything that's going to dive into how your mentality is and how it's going to be maintained, even when you get approach different obstacles too. So as a student, don't write that off. Yeah, you got to learn the system procedures, but start practicing on how to take control of that mind.
Yep, that's right. Battlefield of the mind. So, hey, listen, final thoughts, Jess, and we're going to wrap up the call.
Man, I love AMPED. I mean, I love you guys. I know my success is attributed to how much you, Dr. Mann, and Dr. Michael, and the entire team has poured into all of us. I know my husband and I, we count our blessings every day for it. We count our blessings that, we have so many people that we get to help and serve and see them gain victories over health that sometimes we're even surprised about. So I just feel really blessed to be part of such an amazing organization that has good ethics, that is focused, and that finds a concise and efficient way to do things. Because I'm uber organized and a little bit OCD, so I appreciate it from you guys tremendously. But yeah, final thoughts. I love AMPED. I love everything that you guys stand for, and I'm so honored to be a part of this group.
Yeah, well, we stand for what you stand for, which is chiropractic, which is, reaching back out to our communities and actually taking chiropractic back to its rightful place in healthcare, causing critical mass. Imagine that in chiropractic, which, we're going to do. So for people like you, thanks so much, Dr. Jessica. You guys can reach Dr. Jessica on Facebook. I know she's on there, and also ampnow.com. Reach out to us there, and you will connect you with her. Thanks so much for being on today, and Dr. Jessica, thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule. Have an awesome week, everybody.